So today we are with Allan Beck, President and CEO of Baylor Orthopedic and Spine of Arlington. Is that like the total?
Close enough.
Okay. All right. So, and for those of you who don't know, Allan is also our chairman of our board of directors here at the Chamber of Commerce. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to just try to see what we can pull out of your brain, all this wisdom that you've gathered. And so I want to start back in the beginning. And I would like to know, first of all, where were you born and raised?
So you really are going back to the beginning.
I'm going to the beginning.
Right. It was a stormy night, just like last night. Actually, I was born in Connecticut. I'm up from Northeast. I was born in Greenwich, Connecticut. I have family there in New York.
Okay.
Yes, but I moved to Texas when I was very young, when I was 4. So I got here as quick as I could. No, I didn't
live there. Okay, but you were born there, and
yes.
then you still have family there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, so you came to Texas at 4 years old.
Yep.
Now, siblings?
Yes, one older brother.
Okay. So you're the baby.
I'm the youngest, the baby.
Okay. All right. And so up until the age of high school, what are some of the things that stand out or resonate or have that impact on you as of today?
Oh, as a child, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we moved to Texas because my father worked for a cosmetics company, and we relocated.
Okay.
And I was young, so like I said, I grew to Texas. So what does everybody say? We get here as fast as we can. Mm-hmm. So I'm a Texan.
Okay.
I grew up. But unfortunately, my parents did divorce. So I remember being very independent, my brother and I, having a lot of independence. We're the latchkey kids.
Okay.
But just remember having a lot of independence. I think about this now with my kids, because everybody's always watching out, and you're like, where are they? And I don't remember that at all. It truly was a situation, the light out, you got to go back by the time the street light comes back on. But just a lot of independence. And I think that kind of forms. I do worry a little bit now.
Well, I didn't know that you're saying that.
Yeah, I know. It's like, wait.
Okay.
But do remember that a lot. I remember working young as a kid.
Yes.
I'm the one that had the paper route.
Uh-huh.
A couple of those, collecting cans, whatever it is. So just always working a lot. I think that kind of formed a good work ethic early on.
So how did the independence, how does that manifest into today? I mean, obviously imprinted something on you.
And nothing at all, actually. I was trouble. Yeah, to the point. No,
right.
Yeah, there's plus and minuses that can come with that. Here, I'll tell you that because when I graduated high school, I didn't have the typical path of going to college right afterwards.
Right.
I had fun. I enjoyed it, and I went to the military straight after high school. So, and I needed that kind of straighten up. I started kind of getting things, and I mean, not trouble, like, breaking the law. Nothing that's recorded anyway. No, but just a little more rambunctious. So it started to straighten up. The typical, you meet a girl, straighten you up a little bit, and I need to get on that straight path. So, but I was just more of a late bloomer on that.
Okay. So it didn't really have much of, it did initially, but then you don't feel that.
No,
I mean, do you think that has an imprint on how you raised your kids?
Yeah, I think everything forms you. Everything that learn from things that go well, and things learn from your mistakes too. What you don't want to do, or you don't want other people to do.
Yeah.
So it definitely formed me. I think having that. I mean, if anything, it does kind of make me nervous a little bit. I see with my kids, it's like, wow, my son, like, I want to ride the bike a little bit further or back from the soccer game. I couldn't imagine that, and I was doing much more than that when I was younger. So it's just a little different, but it obviously forms to what you are today. But just being a little more rambunctious.
Okay, so you decided to. Now, what was the decision factor for military?
I had some family in the military in the past, and my older brother, went to the Marine Corps.
Okay.
When I was a freshman, and I was in ROTC in high school.
Okay.
I love that, and actually, that started giving me some really good structure too. So I really enjoyed the ROTC.
Okay.
And but when enlisted, and then I went in right after high school.
Yeah.
Funny story about that. I graduated young, even though I was kind of rambunctious. I was early, and I graduated at 17, and I went to the military at 17. I had to have special paperwork my mom had to sign, and she had no problem signing. So,
yes, please take him.
And at the time, people always say, it's like, well, you can die for your country, but you can't have a beer or something like that. And I don't like to drink anyway. And I was in basic, and I was in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and they can actually change the drinking age. So the general can actually change the drinking age for the base. And they changed it to 18. I still couldn't drink because I was 17. Didn't want to anyway, though. But yeah, no.
So now, how long were you? 4 years or longer?
Yeah, so I enlisted for 4 years.
Okay.
I went in '89. So start dating me now. The interesting thing there is, I mean, there was no war since Vietnam, and so you go in, and all of a sudden a war breaks out. Wait, what's this? Did we sign up for this? I'm looking at my contract now. But no, so I was in during the original Gulf War, and then afterwards, they started changing the model of the military, and they started scaling back. So I knew I didn't want to make a career out of it.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, loved my service, but I knew I wanted to get out and go to college. So actually, I applied to get out a year early. So I got accepted to university and used that to get out a year early.
Now, you did something interesting in the military. This is not your life.
Oh, yeah, I was like, what did you find out?
No, but isn't that where your medical?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I was a medic in the Army.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a combat medic. So.
Okay.
Yes, and I knew probably my senior year in high school, I really started getting interested more in medicine. My mom,
you?
yeah.
Okay.
My mom always wanted to be a nurse. She wasn't. She did like some medical stuff, medical aid, CNA type stuff. So I became a medic in the Army.
Okay. And so, and you said that kind of, in your senior year, you were kind of leaning towards that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was there anything besides the influence of your mother that gave you that? Or, I mean, when you were younger, did you have some burning desire of what you wanted to do when you grew up?
No,
okay.
No, I had no idea. Do you remember what I told you about how I was? No, I informed later. No, I think a couple things. And I was actually talking to my son about this recently. But my mom had influence on there. But also, it was like my senior year, and there was one of our classmates. We were on an ROTC trip, and he was epileptic, and he had an epileptic episode, and everybody was running away, kind of scared. You're a teenage kid, and I was actually going to help him. And it's just little things like that. I always like, to help out, and but
that's interesting because that's a key thing. You and I've talked about this before, I think, about the fact that the people that run to stuff like that and those that don't, that's kind of a defining on whether or not someone can do that type of work. I can't remember exactly the conversation. I probably shouldn't have said anything.
No. I'm trying to remember that one. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, we're young. We don't know what we're doing. We're just.
Okay. So you did that, and then you went to college. Now, so when you went into college, did you have a specific career that were you going to stay in the medical field? Tell me what your deal was.
Yep. I knew I wanted to be a registered nurse at that time.
Okay.
So I got out. I went to Texas Tech University in Lubbock. And then after the first year, I got accepted to the Health Science Center School of Nursing.
Okay.
And with the nursing school at Texas Tech.
Okay. And
had a great time at Texas Tech was fun. It's different then. Everything was different since I went enlisted. So now I'm going to college, and I was 21. I just turned 21 right when I was going, and I had about a year underneath my belt already because I started doing some evening classes when I was in the military. So, was there for 4 years, even though I said I had a year, still for 4 years, go figure. And I finished up and came back to the Metroplex, and my first job was at Baylor Medical Center, Dallas.
Really? Yes. Okay. And so how long did you do that?
I was there for almost 10 years at Baylor Medical Center, and I was moving up. So after a few years, I loved nursing. I worked on ICU, recovery, cath lab. I was kind of that little junkie, wanted to do everything. Adrenaline junkie, wanted to have all the exciting things. And I thought I wanted to do agency nurse, and that's where you would travel to different places and take assignments and get paid a little extra money. And it's talk to some people, and it's not all what it cracks up, what they think it is. So I started doing more of the leadership. So I said did a supervisor role, and then I went back to school.
Okay. And then?
Well, and man, you really are talking about me.
I know.
So I went to UTA.
Yeah.
We were talking about that a little earlier. I went to University of Texas at Arlington, and I got my master's in healthcare administration. And by that time, I moved from Baylor Medical Center, Dallas, to the new Heart and Vascular Hospital that was opening. And I took a leadership role there. Finished up school, had my first child.
Uh-huh.
Thank goodness it was right at the end. She was born in November, and I graduated with my graduate degree in December.
Uh-huh.
And then within about a year, I took my first executive role as a chief nursing officer.
Okay.
I had to leave Baylor for that. That was tough.
Oh, you did? So where did you do that at?
Yeah, I did. I went to National Surgical Hospital. It was here in the Metroplex.
Okay.
But it's funny. Some companies are like that now, where you almost have to leave and then come back to almost prove yourself a little bit. But I ventured out and I did that for about 2.5 years, and then I came back to Baylor in Fort Worth for a couple of years, and both those roles were in chief nursing officer roles.
Okay.
And then when I started here in Arlington, where I'm at now, it was my first chief executive officer role.
Okay. So tell me about the things that kind of influenced you during that time period before you got to where you are today. So what were some of the things that impacted you?
Like when I was actually advancing in my career?
Yeah, as you were going through it.
No, like I said, I think that one track when I realized that I want to travel, didn't want to stay and do, and so it was more kind of a supervisory role. I really thought, and everybody wants to make a difference, right? And so I was like, what can I do to make a difference? Is it that one person or one patient that I'm taking care of?
Right.
Or, not that they, leaders can solve everything, but I was like, no, I would like to take more of a leadership role. I like to structure things. And I loved a couple of the facilities I've been, and actually 3 of them were new facilities, the startups as you're ramping up. So it was exciting. So I knew I wanted to take that role. And then as I was kind of advancing more in my chief nursing officer roles, and you always hear this, but it's true, the value of having a good mentor. And I had a really, really good mentor, and he assisted me and guided me. He was the CEO, and that's when I decided to do the chief executive role.
And so when you got into that position in that very first year, what were your ahas?
CEO?
Uh-huh.
First thing was, what were they thinking? Don't screw this up. No, it is. There's a lot.
That's a big change.
Yeah, it is. And you do think that you're like, oh, you just don't want to mess anything up, you know. And timing's everything. I'm talking even to some of my other colleagues here in the Metroplex. Kenneth Rose in THR. I remember talking to him early on. But it is a lot of things that you're kind of guiding, and you don't. I mean, it sounds funny, but you just don't mess it up. Timing's everything. Cash flow. You're starting a new business before you make money. It costs, So the big thing there is, I think, has to do with a lot of my leadership style, how it's kind of formed when I got more in the executive role. And I think that it's kind of more of a, I think I call it transformational, but it's where you kind of put people in place for them. Surround yourself with really good people, give them the autonomy and the authority, and lead them, but let them lead out.
Let them do the thing.
Yeah, hold them accountable, but surround yourself with good people. But it was exciting. It was.
So you had to go through COVID.
Yes.
I mean, was that probably the most, in the things that you've in your career to have to deal with? That was, I mean, that a pandemic. I mean,
yeah, it was interesting. When you talk to people, it was everybody has their own unique story and how it impacted. And anywhere how it impacted our hospital as compared to other hospitals was very, very different. Because we're a specialty orthopedic and spine hospital. So we had different challenges. The first thing for us early on is they stopped all elective surgery.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking earlier, and that's like 80-90% of what we do. And the reasoning behind that is you don't know what's going to happen. You want to keep all your resources and supplies, focus in on the pandemic and what the need may be. But you have a hospital that's focusing on that. We weren't taking any COVID patients.
Right.
I think when you're saying earlier, what's nervous about that is also you have a lot of people working there, and you feel responsible there. So when we did that, you lose 80-90% of your business. What do you do? I mean,
gone,
exactly. Revenue's down. You don't need all these people. So we were very selective about how we worked that process. We did have to scale back. We were allowed to do emergent and urgent cases. But at that time, it was interesting. The Texas Medical Board was the most critical on that. So we didn't want to compromise our license, but the Texas Medical Board are really focusing on docs saying, do not do anything unless it's urgent or emergent. So we had to review it, and that's the obvious stuff. Somebody falls, breaks their hip, someone breaks their leg, bone sticking out. Those are but as far as a sore knee, you're not going to do those things anymore. Right. So we had to review all those cases. Volume started picking up a little bit. We were focusing on urgent and emergent cases, but then the other interesting thing was we started becoming more of the other hospitals were getting so busy with COVID and different things that some of the orthopedic emergencies from further out were coming our way. So we were getting them throughout the Metroplex, throughout West Texas. We kind of partnered with one of the physicians out in Midland and Odessa. So we were getting cases in from West Texas. And then further down in with COVID was we started taking more accidents. We don't take elective ambulance traffic. They can come there, but it's not elective. We have to be aware of it. So we started taking more ambulance traffic, but they know it was appropriate to orthopedic or minor emergencies. But we didn't have that COVID focus as other facilities. We mainly focused to decompress them. If their ERs are overflowing with that, we wanted to make sure that we took any traumas. So it was different for us.
In healthcare overall, the things that, because you've been in it for your entire career, just about, right? Well, even with military, you were still in it. What do you think has changed the most since the beginning to now?
Oh, wow. A lot of things have changed.
I know.
I always hear about the heydays. That was before me, I guess. Healthcare is really interesting because the payer mix is all different. You can literally we were talking earlier before we started about a knee procedure. You can line everybody up here and you can do the exact same knee procedure on someone, but the payers are all different. You're going to get different amounts at different time period. They're going to try to fight for sometimes they're going to deny it and you got to fight for that. So it's very interesting. You think if you bring your car somewhere, you get service, you're just going to pay for it, but here it's you get paid different amounts at different times and sometimes nothing at all. We do our part, as charity care too. So, you got Medicare, you got Blue Cross Blue Shield. So you have different payers, different challenges there. You still, again, to your point, we were talking about earlier that we do charity care. We want to make sure we do our part in the community. It's not, it is a business, so we got to keep the lights on. Right. And we're not one of the hospitals that gets funding from the state for that part of it, but we still do our part for charity care. Last year we did about just under $1 million of charity care. Wow. Where we didn't get paid for any of it. So that's probably the biggest challenge is running a business with all these factors that are there, highly regulated. Regulations are, even more the fear of becoming single payer. That hopefully won't happen for a while, if at all. But it's definitely a different type of industry. And so, what do you think the future is? What keeps you up at night? Is it the future, or is it? No, I'm still excited. I think you're still learning. We're still growing, and I know it sounds kind of cliche, but you take that challenge. You're like, okay, well, how can we work with this? I remember early on, they would focus on readmission penalties and different things, which I don't think that's a bad thing. If you're not doing good work and patients are coming back, for whatever reason, the funny thing a lot of time has to do with patient compliance. But even then, you still have to own it. So I remember the first time we had something and we're looking at a potential readmission penalty, and it was like, okay, I always say we go through all of our phases of anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and you finally get to acceptance. It's like, well, what was really related to that surgery? And maybe we'll review all these cases, and none of them were. It had to do with another medical condition. They weren't managing their diabetes. They had a heart attack, or they had a GI bleed, or they weren't compliant. Well, you can say, well, that's not our responsibility, but no, we have to own it. So now we say, okay, what can we do to put that patient in a better situation before they have surgery and after surgery? And that piece I was really excited because the team got together. We started a patient optimization program that said, it's not just your knee, Lori, are we going to make sure we take care of you? If you have diabetes, can we better manage that before, during, and after surgery so you don't have an infection? So you're looking at the whole body, instead of just that one thing. Exactly. And healthcare, that's what healthcare is. But you think on our specialty, you look at so much, it's like you're focusing on this, this, this. I like the fact that you have to own the whole episode. You have to own the whole thing. And even that patient's compliance. Yeah. And we've had those, and that was the toughest thing. It's a business, but it's like there was another patient that we call it pre-diabetic, and that means that they're in denial. They don't think they're in denial. I don't have it. I don't have it. No. But the sugar was, and they didn't want to do this, and finally the patient, they were just like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do this. And the surgeon says, well, I'm not going to do your surgery. You need to, and they were just taken back by it. And two things happen. There will be a situation where they get better, and when we say we have to optimize, we want to give them the resources to do it. So we do give them resources. We work with them. But then also, if it's truly elective, you can find someone else. But we're not trying to be mean. We know you need that knee surgery, but your chance for infection or complication is so much higher because you're not compliant. But to me, that's a good thing. It's interesting because normally I don't think it was ever probably that way, right? You just went
If people complain and, you know, even though, like you said, they didn't do what they were supposed to do, or I don't know. I just think that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, and the hospitals did it because they come back in, you bill, and you get paid for that again too. Whatever the next thing you do.
Because if you're going to have to take the blame for everything, well, then you might as well. All right, then we're going to look at all of it, and you either fit the profile or you don't. You know, as far as being able to.
Yeah, but that's very rare where it has that. I mean, I know one situation specifically where the patient opted out, and we're like, good luck.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of them, I mean, actually, and it kind of sounds funny, but when you hear the story of a patient before now that is 6 months past knee surgery, is walking, hiking, playing with their grandkids, whatever that may be, and then on top of that, they've lost weight, they're off their blood pressure medications, and you're like, holy cow, we own that whole episode, and that whole patient is, as a whole, is so much better, not just the knee, but they are better. You know, that's great. So that's taking a challenge, going through your phases, getting to acceptance, and then putting a plan, and that piece I'm excited about. So we started optimizing. We started kind of what we call hard stops, where, you know, if you're not ready, we're not saying we're not going to do your surgery. We just need to get you to that point where we are. And our patients have great outcomes because of it.
Yeah. So now, switching gears, what do you do in your free time? Do you have any?
I don't know. It doesn't feel like it. I'm always doing something. Well, I have 3 kids.
I know.
So they keep me really busy. My hobbies I was keeping with the kids is one thing, but we love hockey. We like watching hockey. Go Stars, starting back up again. My son plays ice hockey here for Mansfield. We love shooting. I think that's my military background, but we love shooting. It's funny because I have a whole collection, and I just started hunting. I didn't hunt. People are like, why do you have all this? Like, this is America. No, but
and you got land too, don't you?
We do. But I just love the sport and the skill of shooting. With my military background, I think is a big piece to that. But I just started getting into hunting a little bit this last year, more of kind of the bird hunting. What are you
hunting? Birds?
I can't. Just started, like I said, literally a couple of years ago, and it's something about just sitting in a box and waiting. I'm not built that way. So I love the fact that I started doing some of the bird hunt, the mixed bad bird hunts, and you're walking the fields. I feel like I'm exercising a little bit. You're working with dogs. And the skill of the dogs is amazing. So I really started getting into that the last couple of years.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I don't get the whole thing where you put the feeder right there and then you sit there and you wait.
Put them on a leash.
I don't
No, I might get more, but no, that's my first start was doing some of the bird hunt, and we eat them, so that was good.
Okay.
People always like, but no, I enjoy that. I feel like I'm working. You're walking the field, working the dogs. It's amazing the skill there. It got me cooking a little bit more, so I'll cook some of the pheasant and quail. So.
Okay.
But yeah, busy at work, busy with the family. I mean, I think probably kind of hockey and hunting and different things kind of the.
Now, are you a movie person, a book person? Neither.
Yeah,
where do you fall on that?
I always say, thanks when I ask me what book I'm reading, because with my life, so I always want to do that. I always put one there, and it'll be there forever, and you dust it off at the end. So no, I'm not I don't. It's just hard for me to focus and stay on a book. It'll take me forever to read a book, unless you really get one that you really like. I have one that's been sitting on my bedside, and actually a friend of mine. It was called Iraq Full Circle. Darren Wright actually unfortunately passed away in a parachute accident in the military. But I've been kind of thumbing through that one, but not as much book. Love movies. But it seems like the movie quality lately is not that great. Good. And so we used.
What was the last good one you saw? Or your favorite?
No. Yeah. I mean, there's so many I want to see. I want to see the Oppenheimer. I don't have the time to see those now. We just do a lot of reruns. Like around the holidays, we love watching the classic stuff. Kind of cheesy around there. The Christmas Vacation.
I knew you were going to say
It's a Wonderful Life. Even the old stuff. I love that every single year. So just watching that, I'm on reruns. But we kind of lost that just with some of the movie quality. It's not been great, but I like movies a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. And so when you look at the future, what do you see for you?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, the kids, we talked earlier, so I have one that started college. Yay.
Yeah.
So what do they say? When you can retire, when you take your last one, was born in, is it 25 years? Because they have to get through college, you know. No, I really, this is, I was telling somebody, oh, we had hospital orientation, and I was talking to the team about when the hospital opened. This is the longest job I've ever had. It's amazing. I did not think I'd be here this long. And
Wow.
Because it moves up. It's interesting if you talk to some different people in healthcare and different health systems work different ways, you know, HCA different ones, and they kind of move people. Yeah, they move people around.
I didn't realize they did that.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
They do.
Yeah.
And my wife would have left me because she said, I'm not, well, no, she wanted more not travel. She probably would have moved a little bit, but she didn't want me traveling.
Yeah.
No, but the neat thing about Baylor is, because it's all here in the Metroplex. So sometimes they do move, but you're moving kind of within, you know, to take other leadership roles. And then with the joint ventures that I'm in, it's not that uncommon for people to stay in different leadership roles for multiple years too. So it's a little different for Baylor, and that's been a plus. I'm raising my family here. We didn't have to move around.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. So no, I still see some really good growth opportunities. We've been through a couple expansions at the hospital, and we're looking at some other stuff. I love what the hospital's doing in the community. That's when, you know, I think you need to say, why have you been here that long? It's, you know, it's growing. I feel like we're making a difference. We really are. And then again, I'm raising my family here, and the hospital really does a lot. They want a lot of that community money to stay right here in Arlington, Mansfield, you know, Connecticut, Grand Prairie, in this area. So it's kind of neat when, like I said, you're raising your family, but also you see the hospital's name supporting different things, whether it's, you know, assisting in care for people or supporting different nonprofits in the community. So I'm still enjoying it. I still think.
Do you have any like special projects or things that you would like to try to do, or passions, or that in conjunction with what you're doing?
No, you know, you do kind of think, what do you want to do next? It's kind of interesting. I've been with our company. I've went out and did a few projects whether they're acquiring new facilities, or there was a project we were working on in Denver with a health system that we were partnered with or affiliated with. And I really enjoyed that piece where you go in, like I said, I've been a part of 3 new facilities. So the startup, the excitement of that, or go into facilities where, you know, maybe you need to do that assessment. You're looking at, you know, whether you take over part ownership or needs to turn around. That's exciting. And maybe I'd like to do that a little bit more. But I think if the hospital was just the same way, at least where I'm at now, if it was the same way 14 years ago and it never, I wanted to be there, you know, but just seeing that growth and a lot of things still happening, I think makes a difference. But I like that piece of it.
Okay, I have one last question for you before we let them ask you questions. Do you have any kind of a motto or a creed that you live by?
Ooh.
Is there one thing that is like at your core?
That sounds cheesy, but people will say, you know, work hard, play hard. I like that. I mean, we spend a lot of hours, and I try to balance that. Again, I have a younger family; they're getting older. You always try to balance that out. I wanted to make sure I'm here, and that's why I'm glad I didn't travel a lot. But I do feel like I work hard, especially when you starting new hospitals and doing different projects. So I want to make sure, in addition to that you know, playing hard, obviously when I was younger, but you know, and focusing on the family and doing that piece of it too. So
is it hard to balance?
At times it is.
What's your secret to make it happen?
My wife, it's useless to put me in check sometimes. No. You know, you got to find the time where you can. I remember before when my kids were much younger, because and they do grow fast. You guys know this. Yeah. They always say it, and it's true. But I would hate the fact that the first thing that hit home to me is when I left really, really early in the morning before they got up, and then I had some meetings, and I got home late and they were already sleeping, and I'm like, there was a complete day that I was not anywhere around, you know. And I like I said, I like the fact that I didn't travel a lot, so that was kind of hard. So what I started doing then was, you know, when they're in elementary school, pre-COVID, because you can't go anywhere now, but you know, you can go on lunch with the kids and everything. And I knew if I had a board meeting or if I had a late meeting, I would try to block off my lunch, and I would go and have lunch with them. And little things like that, you know.
I know too that you used to. I remember you telling me stories where you did specific trips with your kids, just you and your kids. Yeah. Where you would go and do things with them.
Yeah, that was kind of. I had a cousin that got me into that. He told me he would do that. So yeah, in the summertime, and it would be a week one. So I would tell the kids, pick one thing you want to do, and we'd go. And it used to be, you know, I want to go to Austin, and it would be just Dad and I. They would go. We would go with them, and I took my son to Austin one time, and we went to a tank museum and went kayaking on the river there, and just kind of hanging out for the weekend. And they came back and went to LA with my daughter one weekend. She watched Titanic and loved the Titanic, and she heard about the Queen Mary, and she goes, "How lucky!" I'm like, "Well, that's found a really good deal and everything like that. Found a good weekend, and we took off for the weekend to do that." So yeah, finding those little getaways, the one-on-ones when you can, but it is hard. But just don't get so much into it. And my wife's really good. Sometimes she's like, "Hey, things getting a little crazy now." But yeah, find the balance where you can. It's not easy, and it's not just me. I talk to people all the time, and it's hard finding that balance. But it's like, okay, if you're working so hard, what are you working for?
Exactly.
I love my job. Don't get me wrong. I love Baylor.
I understand.
And it'll be there when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And but finding that balance, it's hard for everyone. But I think I do pretty good with it, and sometimes better than others.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
We're gonna turn this off, and we're gonna let them ask you some questions. So.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.